Picture this. You're standing in your kitchen. It's the middle of a global lockdown.
Oh, right. The ultimate chaos outside.
Exactly. And you're just trying to keep it together. You know, you've got like a bucket of vinegar water in one hand, you're mopping the floor, just doing the most mundane stuff to keep the world at bay.
Yeah, just trying to survive the day.
Right. And then your phone rings. It's an unknown number, so, I mean, obviously you let it go to voicemail.
Natural.
But when you finally wipe your hands and, hit play, it's this stranger's really nervous voice. And in one sentence, he completely erases the 20-year reality of your marriage.
It's a staggering moment.
It really is. Welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. Today we are looking at the incredibly riveting memoir, Strangers, by Belle Burden.
And we're really exploring the absolute whiplash of how this supposedly unshakable 2-decade partnership just, vanishes literally overnight.
Yes, exactly. We want to see what that vanishing act teaches us about the fragile stories we tell ourselves, about love, security, the people we think we know best.
Because it really is the ultimate nightmare scenario of betrayal.
Right. And the craziest part is it doesn't unfold with some dramatic, screaming fight where people are like throwing plates.
No, it's so quiet.
Exactly. It unfolds in the quietest, most mundane way possible.
The juxtaposition there is just profound. You have the incredibly grounded act of cleaning a floor against the total instant erasure of a shared reality.
Yeah.
It really highlights just how thin the ice we all walk on actually is.
I really want to dig into that juxtaposition because the contrast is what makes this so terrifying. Let's look at the setup from the source material.
Right. So we are in March 2020.
March 2020. The world is shutting down. Everyone is, terrified. Belle, her husband James, and 2 of their kids retreat to their isolated Martha's Vineyard home.
Meadowpath, they call it.
Yeah, Meadowpath. And from everything we read, James isn't just like physically present. He is actively leaning into this role of the protective patriarch.
Oh, absolutely. He is aggressively establishing the perimeter of their family bubble.
Right.
The sources describe him just meticulously locking the doors against this invisible virus. He's building these gorgeous fires, making whiskey sours for the 2 of them.
He's performing the provider role flawlessly.
Exactly.
Flawlessly.
There's this one detail that just stuck in my head. He roasts a perfect chicken on the outdoor grill.
Oh, yeah, in the freezing cold.
Yes. And he even gives the coveted oyster piece of the chicken to their young daughter. And, if you're listening to this and you cook, you know the oyster's the absolute best part.
You only give that to someone you cherish.
Right. He is the absolute picture of nurturing safety. But then, after dinner, Belle is cleaning up. She plays that voicemail.
The one from the unknown number?
Yeah. And it's a young man saying, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your husband is having an affair with my wife.
It's a completely surreal intrusion. The perimeter he supposedly built to protect them was actually breached by his own actions long before the lockdown even started. Right. And here's where my brain just breaks. Belle confronts James. He immediately grabs her hands, looks her dead in the eye, and swears it meant nothing.
He says it's only been a few weeks. It's over, all of that.
Yeah. He plays the remorseful husband to the hilt. But by 6 a.m. the very next morning, the entire script flips.
It's just wild.
He walks into their bedroom, fully dressed in his winter parka and boots. He stares at her with what she describes as cold green eyes she has never seen before.
And he just announces he wants a divorce.
He doesn't want the house. He doesn't want custody of their kids. He just wants out. Okay, let's unpack this because it's like experiencing a jump scare in a horror movie, right?
That's a great way to put it.
But instead of a monster leaping out of the closet, it's a polite voicemail that completely erases your reality while you're literally holding a bucket of vinegar water.
The velocity of that shift is what makes it so traumatic. It's an instantaneous rewriting of his entire identity.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes from the man giving his daughter the best piece of chicken to a ghost in a winter parka in less than 12 hours.
Okay, I have to stop you there because I am genuinely stuck on this. How does that actually happen?
It's a very abrupt pivot.
Right. I mean, I understand marriages and I understand people have affairs.
Right.
But how does a human being go from a nurturing protector to an ice-cold stranger shedding his entire family overnight? It feels like a glitch in the matrix.
What's fascinating here is that it does feel like a glitch, but there is a deeply revealing psychological pivot happening, and it hinges on a very bizarre detail involving the mistress.
Oh, right, the hospital thing.
Yes. According to the source material, right after Belle discovers the affair, the mistress takes sleeping pills and ends up in an ambulance in New York City.
Wait, on the exact same night?
The exact same night.
That is insane.
At the precise moment Belle's world is disintegrating and she's sobbing on the bathroom floor, the mistress effectively steals James's caretaking attention.
Oh, wow.
James is on the phone, pacing, consumed with worry for the mistress. And he looks visibly relieved when he finds out she is fine.
So his capacity for empathy didn't suddenly vanish.
Exactly. It didn't vanish from his body. It just instantly migrated to a new target.
He just packed up his empathy and forwarded it to a new address. That is so chilling.
It really is.
But, that instinct to just pack up his empathy didn't happen in a vacuum. And frankly, Belle's inability to see it coming didn't either.
No, not at all.
If you look at her life before James, she was practically primed to miss the red flags because she was running from a massive trauma of her own.
Exactly. To understand why this sudden exit was so devastatingly disorienting for Belle, we really have to look at why she chose a man like James in the first place.
Yeah, let's go back.
The deep dive sources take us back to 1996, to this foundational rupture in Belle's life that sets the stage for everything.
Let's talk about 1996. Belle is in her 20s. Her father is this larger-than-life, incredibly glamorous figure. He's descended from the Vanderbilts, actually.
Very high society.
Right. And then he dies suddenly in his sleep. But he doesn't just leave behind a grieving family. He leaves behind an absolute bomb.
Oh, yeah.
His estate is $40 million in debt.
40 million. It's just an unfathomable amount of hidden financial chaos.
He had taken out massive secret loans, risked their homes, his art collections, everything. The family is nearly ruined.
And Belle is just reeling from this betrayal of trust.
Yeah, from her own father.
Yeah.
So she completely shifts her life's trajectory. She abandons her dreams of being a writer or a public defender, and she takes this miserable, punishing corporate law job at the elite firm Davis Polk.
Right, because she needs the stability.
The memoir describes her crying in the bathroom every day, fielding calls from estate lawyers in a phone booth, just trying to survive the sheer panic of that debt.
She is profoundly traumatized by financial instability. Her father, the man she loved and trusted deeply, proved to be a complete illusion of safety.
He was completely reckless.
So as a trauma response, she overcorrects. She seeks out the most stable, rigid, financially secure environment possible.
Even though corporate law crushes her creative spirit.
Exactly. She is looking for an anchor.
And right when she is grounding in that environment, she meets James. He's a fellow lawyer at the firm.
And the interesting thing is, he used to be a bit of a bad boy.
Yeah, arrested as a teen, struggled with grades, that whole thing.
But he transformed himself into this steady, hyper-responsible, ambitious professional.
To Belle, he represents the ultimate safety. He's calm, he takes charge, he looks her in the eye and promises to always take care of her.
They have this whirlwind romance.
But then, just weeks before their wedding, he drops a massive legal catch into her lap.
He insists on modifying their prenuptial agreement.
Right.
Initially, the draft stated they would split everything earned during the marriage, which, is the standard definition of a marital partnership.
Sure.
But James wants to change it so that only assets put in joint names will be divided. Whatever they earn and keep in their own individual names remains theirs alone.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because, put yourself in Belle's shoes for a second. You're listening to this deep dive. Imagine you are a highly intelligent, trained corporate lawyer at one of the top firms in the world.
You know exactly what this contract means.
Exactly. Your own family attorney is on speakerphone, explicitly screaming at you that this is a terrible idea, yet she folds. She signs it.
She does.
Why? It's like reading the terms and conditions of a parachute while you're already jumping out of the plane. You just sign it because you desperately want to trust the person who packed it. But from a legal standpoint, it makes no sense.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it makes no logical sense. But it makes complete psychological sense.
Oh, because of the trauma.
Right. Because her father's financial chaos deeply scarred her. She actually craved James's financial control. Over the years, she actively handed over her financial awareness as an offering to the marriage.
Wow.
She confused his desire for control with a desire to protect her.
She thought his controlling nature was proof of his care.
Precisely. Signing that modified prenup wasn't a failure of her legal training. It was an emotional surrender.
Right.
She was communicating, I trust you more than I trust myself to protect us. And he gladly took those reins.
Yeah, the sources show how he managed everything, right down to scrutinizing the credit card bills and making her feel guilty for spending.
while he simultaneously bought vintage Rolex watches and motorcycles for himself.
Right. She even hid her own modest purchases on a separate card just to avoid triggering his anxiety.
Exactly.
And because she handed him the reins, when he finally lets go in 2020, he doesn't just drop them, he burns the entire carriage.
He really does.
When the marriage ends, he aggressively dismantles the identity they built together. And I mean aggressively.
It's a complete teardown.
Like, wait, I get wanting a clean break, but the deep dive sources detail behavior that goes way beyond just moving out. He throws his own clothes away in black garbage bags.
He sells off his prized collection of vintage Rolexes.
He gets rid of his motorcycles. He leaves the kids' passports behind in his desk drawer. That's not just moving on. That feels intentionally destructive. What is happening in his brain?
He isn't just getting a divorce. He is putting his own identity into a witness protection program. He is torching the evidence of the man he was. Because when a person makes a decision that fundamentally contradicts their self-image, like a devoted father abandoning his children, the psychological friction is agonizing.
So they have to rewrite reality to survive it.
Exactly.
And he attempts to rewrite history in real time, right in front of his family.
Yes. There's a moment in the memoir where he flies back to the Vineyard just to officially tell the kids about the divorce.
Oh, this part was so hard to read.
The setup is agonizing. He does it from behind a mask, pacing the room, avoiding eye contact. His youngest daughter is so overwhelmed, she runs away wailing.
It's an intensely traumatic afternoon for everyone.
And yet, later that night, he sends Belle a text message that simply says, "That was a great visit."
Are you kidding me? A great visit. His daughter is wailing, and he calls it great. How does a human brain even process that?
That text is a masterpiece of cognitive dissonance. If he admits that the visit was horrific and that he's inflicting deep trauma on his children, his self-image as a good guy shatters.
Yeah, he can't handle that.
He cannot integrate the reality of the pain he is causing with his internal narrative that he is simply moving on to a better, more authentic life. So his brain literally alters reality. He fictionalizes the event so he can sleep at night.
It's terrifying because it shows how completely someone can detach from shared reality. And the memoir offers this incredibly beautiful but heartbreaking foil to James's behavior.
The osprey.
Yeah. While he's doing all of this, Belle is watching the ospreys living on their vineyard property.
For years, James was obsessed with these birds.
Right, and ospreys are fascinating. They mate for life. They fly thousands of miles and return to the exact same nest every single year.
A perfect symbol of loyalty.
Exactly. And during the summer of the divorce, while James is shedding his identity, abandoning his children, refusing custody, Belle sits there and watches the male osprey relentlessly hunting.
He's diving into the lake, catching fish, delivering them to his hatched chicks over and over again.
Nature is literally modeling the loyalty and paternal duty that James just threw in the garbage.
The contrast is stark and deeply poetic. The bird is governed by an innate, unbreakable instinct to provide and protect its young.
While the human being,
Despite decades of conscious commitment, legal contracts, and societal expectations, just flips a switch and walks away. It highlights the terrifying fragility of human promises.
But James isn't the only one rewriting the narrative. This is where the story gets really dark socially.
The community reaction.
Yeah, the fallout Belle faces from their community is staggering. They belong to this exclusive, generational tennis club on the Vineyard. Suddenly she's treated like a pariah.
Friends she has known for years are literally crossing the street to avoid her.
And at a dinner party she wasn't invited to, a man chillingly remarks to a group of their mutual friends that James leaving Belle for another woman could be a good thing.
He actually calls it a love story.
A love story. So I have to ask you, why does society like those people at the country club so often align with the person who leaves rather than the person left behind? It seems so backwards.
It seems backwards, but when a whole community sides with the person who blew up the marriage, it's an active defense mechanism.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. If they admit the truth that Belle did everything right, she was a loyal wife, a dedicated mother, a supportive partner, and her life still exploded completely out of nowhere, they are forced to face a terrifying reality.
They have to look at their own spouses and wonder, am I next?
Exactly. If doing everything right isn't a shield against total devastation, then no one is safe. That is a paralyzing thought.
Wow.
By painting James's affair as a destined love story, or by distancing themselves from Belle as if her misfortune is contagious, they are trying to protect the illusion of their own safety. They rewrite the narrative of Belle's life to maintain the comfort of their own.
That makes so much sense, but it is incredibly cruel to the person going through it.
Oh, absolutely.
Stripped of her husband, isolated from her social bubble, questioning her entire perceived reality, Belle is pushed to the absolute brink. She describes spending hours just curled on a bathroom floor.
But the way she survives this, the way she pulls herself out.
Yeah, that provides the ultimate lesson of our deep dive today. She doesn't just endure the pain, she actively rebuilds the puzzle.
Literally and metaphorically. The coping mechanisms she develops are fascinating.
She finds her footing through sheer, repetitive physical motion. She starts walking, up to 8 miles a day around the island, through sunshine, rain, and hail.
It's as if she has to physically move the trauma through her body to keep it from destroying her.
Right. And at night, when the house is quiet and the panic sets in, she obsessively does jigsaw puzzles at a card table. And I love this detail. She describes feeling the comforting ghosts of her ancestors sitting at the table with her.
Her late grandmother, the fashion icon Babe Paley.
Yeah, and her father, and her best friend who passed away from cancer.
She is gathering her people. She is actively leaning on the memories of those who, despite their profound flaws, truly loved her.
To counteract the rejection.
Exactly. She uses their unconditional presence to counteract the profound, sudden rejection she just experienced from her husband.
And then she tentatively re-engages with her professional identity. Remember, she had stepped away from her intense legal career to raise their kids because James's demanding hedge fund job came first.
Right, she sacrificed her career for his.
But now, in the middle of this chaos, she takes on a pro bono immigration case. She is working remotely amidst the pandemic to help a 14-year-old immigrant secure a green card.
And the hyper-specific, structured nature of legal work, the affidavits, the strict court deadlines, the undeniable facts, it grounds her.
It reminds her of her own competence.
She rediscovers her own agency. For 20 years, her agency was completely subsumed by James's ambition and James's anxiety.
She made herself small to make room for him.
Returning to the law isn't just about a job, it is a return to herself. She's proving that she can navigate complex systems and protect people, including herself.
But the reality of what she surrendered to James all those years ago comes crashing back in the most brutal way.
The ending is rough.
The excerpt we reviewed concludes in September 2020. She's back in New York. She goes to the mail and receives a certified letter.
It is a summons from James.
He is officially suing for a divorce. But he's not just asking for a dissolution of the marriage. He is formally asking the court to enforce the altered prenup, the exact one she signed just days before their wedding.
The contract that stipulated he keeps everything he earned and put in his own individual name.
Yep.
After a massively successful career on Wall Street, while she stayed home, raised their 3 children, and managed every aspect of their domestic lives, he is legally severing her from the financial empire they built during their 20 years together.
So what does this all mean? The tragic irony here is just breathtaking. Doing complex legal work to save a total stranger is what finally grounds her and gives her purpose. But a legal document she signed for the man she loved is exactly what traps her.
It's heartbreaking.
She used the law to free someone else, while her husband uses the law to walk away with the financial security she thought they were building together.
This raises an important question about the narratives we internalize and the sacrifices we make for peace. Belle comes to a devastating realization.
What's that?
She spent her entire life trying to be the good, quiet girl. She followed the rules. She deferred to James's preferences. She tried to avoid her family's historical legacy of messy divorces and public infidelity by being perfectly compliant.
She thought compliance meant safety.
She fundamentally believed that if she was agreeable, if she handed over financial control, if she didn't rock the boat, she would be safe. She learns the absolute hardest way that compliance and silence do not guarantee safety. In fact, they often invite exploitation.
She writes so powerfully about how she accepted the legacy of men behaving badly, her grandfather, her mother's boyfriends. She really thought James was different.
But he wasn't.
No. In the end, he felt just as entitled to walk out, and worse, he expected her to stay quiet about it. He expected her to tell everyone it was an amicable split.
He expected her to continue managing his reputation for him, even as he systematically dismantled her life. He wanted the benefit of her compliance long after he stopped being her partner. But by refusing to lie, by taking those grueling 8-mile walks, by returning to her legal work and fighting for herself, she stops being the compliant girl.
She finally starts reading the terms and conditions of her own life.
Exactly.
It really makes you wonder how many of us are doing the exact same thing right now. To you listening to this, I want you to consider where in your own life you might be trading your voice for the illusion of peace.
It's a tough question to ask.
It is. Where are you signing an emotional prenup? Where are you handing over your power or ignoring your own instincts? Because it just feels easier to trust someone else than to face the conflict of standing your ground.
We all tell ourselves stories to survive, to feel secure in an unpredictable world. But the absolute most dangerous story is the one where we convince ourselves that making ourselves small is the only way to keep someone else comfortable.
Exactly. We spend so much time believing we are building a shared narrative with our partners, our friends, our communities. We assume we are looking at the exact same blueprint for the future.
But what if you aren't?
Right. What if you've both been reading from completely different scripts the entire time? What if your story of building a family and a life together is just their story of acquiring assets and maintaining control?
That's the real thought to mull over.
Next time you look at the foundation of your own life, ask yourself, did you actually build it together or did you just agree not to look at the cracks? Keep your eyes open, protect your peace, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.